Emotionally unavailable.
Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Melissa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Today's guest is Rhonda Britten, Emmy Award winner, repeat Oprah guest, and master coach, has changed lives in over 600 episodes of reality television, authored 4 bestsellers, including her seminal work, Fearless Living, translated into 16 languages, and founded the Fearless Living Institute, home of Fearless Living Life Coach Certification Program, considered the Ivy League of life coaching training. She was the first life coach on television in the world and appeared for 3 seasons as the head life coach on the hit daytime NBC show Starting Over. Named its most valuable player by the New York Times and heralded as America's favorite life coach, she brings the neuroscience of fear down to earth, giving you a path out of not being good enough using the Wheels technology she developed that saved her own life. She's been read, heard, and watched by millions, coached tens of thousands of clients, trained hundreds of coaches, and now wants to share all she knows with you. We had a really fun conversation, and I think you guys are going to really like it. In the show notes, I'm going to include links to her Instagram, YouTube, website, and at her website, one of her most popular courses, Stretch, Risk, or Die, will show you what's been stopping you from taking action and, more importantly, what to do about it. The course includes 3 short 15-minute videos and worksheets that give examples that apply to various life areas. And she has other things on there. So, check out her website and stuff. All right, well, I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I am releasing this kind of late. Your regular PSA is to remember that while ads are annoying, they are an income source, and so we shall just move on with our lives when they annoy us. Please, because I need it. Okay. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. And I know you're going to love this conversation between me and Rhonda.
Emotionally unavailable.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hello.
How are ya?
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Can you talk? Because I can't hear you.
Yeah. Do you hear me yet?
No, I can't hear you. Let's see. MacBook Pro speakers. Why isn't my speakers working? Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. No, I can't hear you. I can see that you can hear me. Let's see. I'm just going to my systems for a second to see why sorry.
You're fine.
Sound. Blah, blah, blah. Output. Blah, 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 blah. Why is not my speakers working? I'm very confused. Let me go get my my little eerie things.
Did
I
that
had
help?
this problem yesterday.
Oh, I don't hear you. Now I can't hear you.
Screw those.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if I could. La 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 la.
I hear you. Do you hear me?
La 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 la. La la la. Okay, can you hear me? Can I hear you talk now?
I don't think you can hear me yet.
I can hear you now.
Oh, yay!
But I have to have these things on, which is not my normal.
That's okay. I'll put mine on too.
Okay, and we'll look like geeks together?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm like, what the heck? This is the second time this happened. So I feel like I don't know what I have to do. I don't know why is it like my speakers aren't working? No, my speakers were working the other day.
Setting where you've got it clicked on something to use this type of thing.
Some magical place that's not under my settings.
Literal worst. It's the literal worst. It really is. And listen, Rhonda, I'm just gonna apologize because I'm sure it's my fault because I have so much Mercury in my astrology that I think it just loves to follow me around and make messes for me. I'm just glad we got it figured out, you know?
Yes, and we'll just look like geeky girls with our headphones on.
That's right. You know,
Okay.
I told you, come as you are. Come as you are. This is how we are right now.
That's right. That's right. And how do you say your name?
Melissa.
Melissa? Okay.
Uh-huh. Yep. Well, it's really nice to meet you. I love that painting behind you too, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so you do, by the way, I'm just going to tell you a couple things up front.
Okay.
I have already started recording because if I don't, then I'll forget.
You'll forget.
Yep. And I have. It was cute. But so like as soon as I give you this PSA, we're just gonna roll. But
I have a PSA for you too.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
I do a separate introduction before I post the episode. So I just want you to know that's why we just get into what we're gonna talk about.
Groovy.
What's your PSA?
My PSA is interrupt me anytime you'd like because I'm a talker. Okay.
Me too.
So
Me too.
Don't feel like just interrupt away. 2, you can ask me anything. And 3, don't tell my story. Ask me about my story. If you want to talk about my story, it's up to you.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is from your bio, I know a lot about you professionally, but I'm always very curious because I know you wouldn't have ever been a life coach if those weren't transformations you made yourself. I also know from being an entrepreneur, I don't know any entrepreneur that could do it without a spiritual evolution. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? I love so much that you're really laser focused on the fear piece because it truly is just fear that stops. I mean, the more I overcome that.
Yeah.
And I'm still working through blocks and figuring out what exactly I'm afraid of and whatever. But I'd love to start with how you even
don't have to tell me. Don't have to tell me. Don't have to tell me. You just go, girl. You just start and we'll just do it. We'll just do it.
What got you to a place where you needed to change something?
Well, my whole upbringing and my life was about how do you live with an outside self and an inside self, and how do you live? How can you ever be happy that way, right? How can you ever be happy that way? And so how I got to where I am is by crawling through glass, I like to say. Right.
Yeah.
So I crawled through glass. And while I was crawling through glass, I had to have some real truth telling about myself, you know, because, you know, I had something happen in my past that it was easy to blame for the way I was, you know, so anytime I had an issue, anytime I had a bad breakup, anytime I had a fight with somebody at work, I mean, anytime I felt like the world was against me, I had proof that it was, right? And I would pull it out like, you see. And I really believed that, you know, I really believed that. And I think that's what happens to all of us. We really believe the stories because it's the only way we can make sense of our lives.
Yes. Did you have to offer yourself so much forgiveness for believing all of that later? Like, because I have had to.
Sure. I believe forgiveness is a daily event. I don't think that forgiveness is not. I don't think forgiveness is an event. It's a daily experience. And yeah, but in order to forgive, I actually had to be accepting of what was, and in the acceptance, I had to be humble enough to admit to myself that maybe I was wrong. Maybe this was me to a certain extent. Because again, you know, that hairline of a victim is not only do they blame everybody else, but they blame themselves too. So I always say there's 2 types of people who blame other people and people who blame themselves. And most people who come to Fearless Living, they blame themselves. And I always say that's a good thing, because when you blame yourself, then you know you're in charge of changing.
Yeah.
When you blame others, you don't have a lot of power. You don't feel like you have a lot of power, right? So I had to move from victim of my circumstances to victim of my own mind, right? Like this was the trap that I was in. Yeah. So that really was the beginning of my willingness to look deeper than what I was, because I read my first self-help book when I was 12.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was going to be a minister at 13. So I was a God girl and I was a self-help junkie by the time I was 12. So I was actually talking to a friend this last week who knew me when I was 12. And she goes, yeah, and you gave me a copy of that book. And she goes, and I'm reading it going, what the heck? I mean, she goes, what is this?
I love it.
I was trying to teach even back then, right?
Yeah, you were like, no, listen, though.
Listen. Seriously. But I didn't know how to get out of my own way, right? You're in your own cycle, right? So you have to get out of that cycle. And in order to get out of the cycle, you have to have real courage to look at yourself plainly.
Ask bigger questions. Yeah.
Ask bigger questions, ask even smaller questions. But ask questions that aren't trying to validate the story or to figure out how people hurt you. But to focus, right? But to focus on your contribution to that story.
Yes.
And your contribution to people hurting you.
Yeah. And it's tough when you're very sure you're right. Like, I still look at situations where I'm like, okay, I see where I thought I was right. I can see why, but like, here's the truth. But it still comes up to where I'm like, am I doing that thing where I'm lying to myself? Like, I have to take a little break. I'm like, oh, I think I might be lying to myself. Let me check in.
That's why one of my favorite questions to ask my students is, are you willing to be wrong about everything to find the right life for you?
Oh,
are you willing to be wrong about everything to find the right life for you all around Britain? So, that's where I continuously go. If I hit a wall to this day, right? I go, am I willing to be wrong? Am I willing to be wrong about everything to find the right life for me, to make the best decision, to move forward, right? So I was talking to a private client yesterday, and she was, telling her story, doing her thing. She's a brand new client. And I basically said to her, are you willing to be wrong? But everything you just told me as proof of your reason you are where you are, this is the proof. And again, I get it. I got a lot of proof myself, right? But what if you're wrong?
Yeah. I love that. That is a great question. Well, because, we both know usually we're wrong. Usually we're wrong.
We're wrong like 99.9% of the time,
Yes.
Not that we don't have some flavor of, that yes, they were lying to you, and yes, they were not kind to you, right?
Right.
But the thing with fearless living is that, when you start understanding how fear works, the real benefit is not only to understand how fear works with you and inside of you and how you operate and how you see the world, but even more important, almost on another level, is you see fear in everyone else. So then things they're not personal.
Right. And when we talk about a higher level of consciousness, that's what we're talking about, is when you start to understand nothing's personal, because it's all about them and your stuff's all about you.
Even if you
really interesting.
Even if you think you're evolved.
Yeah. I mean, listen, my initial reaction, probably not in that vein. I'm probably like, ew. And then I go, how much of my peace is this worth? And also, why would I give up peace for a situation or a response that had nothing to do with me?
That's
nothing.
Right. That's right. People do hurtful things, not because they're actually trying to hurt you. They're just trying to manage their own emotional life.
Well, and that's why I like have really started harping on the fact that if you will heal yourself, but more than heal, aside from heal, get to know yourself, understand yourself, then that's when you can start practicing true love and compassion for yourself and then be able to extend it to others. Now that I have really uncovered all of my wounding, all of my stuff. I mean, I'm still obviously uncovering, but getting a solid base of understanding of my motivators and whatever, when people talk, I'm like, oh, there's their shame. Oh, there's their fear. I don't take that stuff personally because I know how much I used to project all of my stuff onto other people. So that I can just see the projections around me. And it just makes it much less painful because I didn't have anything to do with me. I'm not going to say I don't react to stuff. I do.
Of course.
I
Human.
don't stay stuck in that.
Yeah, we're human. But it's also, you know, if there's only one of us here, you know, if we believe that there's only one of us here on some higher level, then everybody is us and we are everybody. So
I've never heard it put that way, but I love that.
Yeah, there's only one of us here. So if that's true, if we are all one, if we are reflections of each other, then, you know, if somebody is attacking, you know, it's like, what part of me is that? And can I have the sweetness? Can I have sweetness to them in their attack? Can I love them and give and literally not respond from a place of screw you, but really from a place of like, wow, you must be, you got some stuff going on, you know, and just like love them.
Yeah.
It's radical.
Well, and I talk a lot about, especially with clients, about how like our primary motivator has been spite for so long, and learning to not be operated from a place of spite, but a place of love and compassion for yourself, because that's the only true love. Like once you fall in love with yourself and learn how to cultivate that love, that's the love that you get to share with people. That's the love reflected back at you. But I was all, you know, searching for love in all the wrong places and believing it was external of me. And now I just know, like, when it occurred to me like that I truly was motivated by spite, I was like, oh, that's hateful. And just learning to like, you can send somebody away even from a place of love, compassion, peace, whatever. And that's different than get out of here. You're toxic. You don't show up for me the way that you can say it silently and just be like, you know, that's not the energy I really need to surround myself with, but I don't have to hate anyone for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine wasn't spite. Mine was like, do you love me? 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 Do you love me?
Are you mad at me?
Yeah. Yeah. If somebody had any feelings for me, any kind warm feelings for me, I had to test them, you know, because I didn't believe that I didn't believe that you really were like that. Like I had to do something really, you know, do something horrible or say something or turn away from you or some sort of something to see how hard you'd be like, no, Rhonda, I really do love you. Right. And, you know, now obviously I know that only unhealthy people would fight that barrier with somebody they don't even know, right? Like they don't even know me and they're like, oh, I really want to date you. And I'm like, you have to earn my love, right? It's like, you don't even know, you know, right? And I want them to like,
to that level yet.
Yeah. I want them to break glass, you know, and yeah. So
it's a whole video game series.
It's a whole wonderful trip.
I love it. I so much of the version of me that comes out in intimate relationships is so different than, I say that, but I was pretty needy like that even with friends, because I had a fundamental belief that I was on the periphery of all my relationships and I loved everybody else more than they loved me.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Differently than they loved me, because I like really loved them, but they really
and I had good intentions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I was a good person.
I was a good person. Yes.
Thank you. I feel so seen right now.
Yes,
it's a real battle because, again, you believe the stupid things your brain is trying to like tell you to keep you alive, and the confirmation bias. I could get that like that. Like, oh, I told you nobody loves me. So well, that's good. That's good. Thank you for that proof.
Well, for survival, we have to be right. So there you go.
Exactly. That's why your question is so powerful and moving, because it like stops you right in your tracks to be like, well, first of all, do I think I'm right now? And second of all, am I willing to be wrong?
If you're not willing to be wrong, you're not willing to listen, right? You're not willing to put down your armor. So
are people like gobsmacked when you ask them that sometimes?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much everybody's gobsmacked. They're like, what?
Really? Okay.
I go, yeah, you have to be willing to be wrong about everything. I'm like, what do you mean about everything? About everything.
Everything you've ever thought, bruh.
Everything you've ever thought, every fight you've ever had, every righteous indignation. What if you're wrong? Every time you, and this is for everything, like not just, your heart stuff, but even some of your good stuff. It's like, well, what if you're wrong about that? So just being willing to look at yourself with fresh eyes, rather than that confirmation bias, rather than having cognitive dissonance, rather than having, be on automatic pilot. You have to interrupt the matrix.
Yeah. That's a good way to put that. Yeah. Cause I was real good at cognitive dissonance. I was real good. I could frame anything the way I wanted it to be framed very beautifully at any point and be like, told you so. What? So when did things start shifting for you? What were the tools that really helped you?
Well, to heal from my parents' deaths, it was, so may I just quickly tell you the stories? Because I think it helps to understand the process. So I'm going to tell you about the worst day of my life. And I do believe our destiny is seated in the worst day of our lives.
Agree.
So my worst day was when I was 14 years old, and I grew up in a little tiny town in Upper Michigan, 360 inches of snow a year. By the way, it snowed this year on May 18th. So just FYI,
Oh,
yeah, that's what we're talking about. And so we had two restaurants, the Fancy Douglas House Buffet Hotel and Big Boy. My parents had recently separated. It was Father's Day. My father was coming to take us out for Sunday brunch, which was a big deal because we had 3 kids, 2 adults, 5 people. That's a lot of money. And so I'm in my mom's room. She's fluffing up her Beer Hive hairdo and putting on her rose-colored lipstick and her blue eyeshadow. And my 2 sisters are in our one bathroom fighting it out. My dad walks in the back door. Come on, let's go, girls. Because that's what dads do. And so me and my mom start walking out. My sister's still in the bathroom fighting. And as we walk out, my dad says he's got to get his coat from the car. Now, this coat was a tan Naugahyde leisure suit coat. And you are way too young to remember how hot that was, because him with his plaid shirt and his polyester pants and his Naugahyde coat looked hot. He was looking good, right? So he opens his trunk up to get his coat. And I notice he has not grabbed a coat, but he's grabbed a gun. And he starts yelling at my mother, "You made me do this. You made me do this." And he fires. And I start yelling, "What are you doing, Dad? What are you doing? Stop." And he cocks the gun again, points it at me, and I absolutely believe I'm next. And he blinks and I blink, and he blinks and I blink. And my mother, seeing looks up and sees what's happening, with her last breath, literally screams out, "No, don't." My father, realizing my mother's still alive, takes the bullet intended for me and shoots my mother a second time. And the second bullet goes through her abdomen, out her back, lands in the car horn. And for the next 20 minutes, all I hear is, and then my father cocks the gun again, puts it to his head and fires. So in a matter of less than 2 minutes, I was the sole witness of watching my father murder my mother and commit suicide in front of me.
Oh my
So
God.
I don't know how anybody else would respond, but this is what I did. It's my fault because I was literally the only one out there that could have stopped it.
Yeah.
I didn't kick my father's shins. I didn't grab the gun. I didn't jump in front of my mother. I did nothing heroic. And now they're both dead. And I'm still standing.
Yeah.
So I like to think of myself as, on that day, I split into 2, the outside Rhonda, the inside Rhonda, right? The outside Rhonda, I'm fine. No, I'm good.
Because, no, that didn't affect me at all, actually.
It did not affect me one bit. I'm good. I mean, in Upper Michigan,
I barely remember it.
Yeah, we don't talk about barely remember. Yeah, talk about feelings, or we don't, fear. We don't have any of that. So if you would have asked me the day of my parents' death or a week after if I was afraid, I would have looked at you like, no, why would I be afraid? Like I was so right. I had no relationship to fear. And I actually believe that's true for so many people.
Yeah.
is that they just have no relationship to fear. They don't even know what the word means, right?
Right.
So there was the outside Rhonda and inside Rhonda. Well, the inside Rhonda, the outside Rhonda, you know, got straight A's, got a full ride to college. You know, I'm fine. Like I said, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then the inside Rhonda started drinking, became an alcoholic, ended up getting 3 DUIs. So I had to spend a little time in jail and 3 suicide attempts. And it was that 3rd suicide attempt that I realized I'm not very good at killing myself, not good at that.
Yeah.
And I need to figure this out because I'm not dying, right? I'm not dying.
Yeah.
And so when you try to kill yourself, FYI, for those listening, you will be put in a psychiatric ward for evaluation. So I was put in the little psych ward,
72 hours. Yep.
It was in there, right? Locked up. And they deemed me not crazy, let me go, went back to my little studio apartment. And, you know, during those years that I was drinking, suiciding, and DUIing, like I said, I've been doing self-help since I was 12. I was going to workshops. I went to therapy. I read books.
Yeah.
I knew something was wrong with me. It's not like I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so I was doing everything to change myself. And it wasn't until that 3rd suicide attempt, when I didn't die and I woke up to the stark reality that I'm alive, that I really just said to myself, you know, you have a lot of knowledge, Rhonda. You know a lot of things because you've been studying this for like 20 some years. You're, you know, really smart about, you know, a lot of stuff, and you have a lot of tools, but you actually have no idea what they mean. And you actually don't know how to apply them.
Right.
I find this true for client after client after client. They have a lot of knowledge, right? They have a lot of, they've done a lot of work on themselves.
They've done a lot of intellectualizing their experiences.
Yes, but you and I both know that even intellectualizing, you think you're doing the work.
Oh, hell yeah, you do. I thought I was.
I thought I was doing it, man. I thought I was in the gutter. Like I was
so
doing
confused
it, right?
why it wasn't working because I was doing so much work.
Exactly. I couldn't believe it either. And it was that 3rd suicide attempt when I realized I'm not dying and I'm living. So I got to figure this out. I said, you know, I have to start over. Like everything I'd done is great, but clearly that didn't change my life. So I have to start over.
Yes.
And so I thought to myself, what do kindergartners do? Well, they get a calendar and gold stars. So I actually went to the store that day, got a calendar and gold stars.
I love
and
that.
by the way, I still have this calendar. And every day for 30 days, I told myself to keep track of anything that I did good, because one of the things that happens when you're in the perpetual cycle of beating yourself up and that negative self-talk taking you over is you don't actually create a space for things to change. Because the minute you do something good, you know, and when you have a new insight, it immediately follows with beating yourself up.
Yeah,
So
you weren't perfect at it, so it doesn't really count.
You never build momentum. You never get yourself out. You're always paddling really hard, but you don't understand that just flip and float, right? You don't get that. So I did that calendar for 30 days and I had a calendar filled with stars. And, you know, these were things like got angry and didn't break anything. Like that's what we were talking about, right? That's the level of evolution I was at. And I realized,
believe me, I get that.
Yeah, right. And, and by the way, if you would have talked to me back then, I would have thought I was so evolved, right? Like I know so much.
Yes.
Because I'm so smart. I can tell you everything about everything. And you know what I mean? I can tell you all about the mind.
And I'm going to sit and analyze the shit out of you, by the way.
Yeah. And I see who you are. I see you. I see you. It's not me. It's you. It's not you. It's not me. You. So
I'm dying.
Yeah. Right. So, that calendar, it kind of became it was the turning point, because instead of just thinking about things, I had to start applying things. And that's when I smack dab hit the wall against fear, something that I had denied for those 20 years. And when I really started understanding, started to really, what if I'm wrong about everything? What if I'm wrong about everything? And this is fear. Not only was I looking at myself differently, but I was looking at my father differently. And recognizing my father murdered my mother out of fear.
Yes, he did.
You know, and my mother stayed with my father. She wanted to, you know, she tried to leave him one other time, right? Like, so she was in a very difficult spot and she stayed with him out of fear.
Yeah.
So I started, once I got the fear bug, it's almost like I put a blanket, like filters, and that's why I created something called the Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom. But the Wheel of Fear, when you're looking out the Wheel of Fear, you literally have a filter of fear on, and you just see through that lens. And neuroscience tells us that the only way we can change our lives is changing our perception. So the Wheel of Fear, you have one perception of the world, and on the Wheel of Freedom, what I call it, is you have a different perception of the world. And in the Wheel of Freedom perception, it includes humility. It includes a willingness to be wrong. It includes a willingness to see people's innocence. It includes open-hearted forgiveness, letting go, surrender. You know, that lovely beginner mindset. Have that beginner mind. And so, yeah, that was really the turning point. That calendar and gold stars to start recognizing what I thought about versus what I did.
Do you feel like on this weird Wheel of Fear, Wheel of Freedom, because as you were saying that, I had this visual of where I feel like I'm at right now, which is where I'm operating mostly from this Wheel of Freedom, but it's like overlaid over the Wheel of Fear. And sometimes that, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
I feel like I'm stuck in the middle.
I completely understand. It's why I do my work, because one of the things that I realized is I didn't understand the transition, right? Like you're saying, you're stuck in the middle. You know, over here, you know, you've experienced this, you've experienced freedom, you've experienced that Wheel of Freedom. You know what it's like to be open-hearted and loving and joyous, and you understand that. And then you're over here, you understand that because you spent, you know, you and I spent a lot of time there.
44 years of my life, yeah.
Yeah, right. We get that. So it's really that transition point. I call it the bridge. And, you know, the bridge between the Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom. And that's where I got stuck and where many people get stuck. And also, I'll just say one other thing about the wheels. You can be on your Wheel of Fear, just like you're describing, 90% of the time, right?
And fear just sneaks up a little bit.
Right. And then the Wheel of Fear runs your life 10% of the time. Or maybe the Wheel of Freedom runs your relationships, but the Wheel of Fear runs your career. Or the Wheel of Freedom runs your career and the Wheel of Fear runs your relationships. So, you know, people aren't on the Wheel of Fear all the time. You know, everybody's experienced their Wheel of Freedom. They just don't know how to categorize it. They don't know how to make it their filter.
Yeah.
It's just luck, right? It's just like, oh, the sun is shining and the stars are aligned, and you know, I ate well and I slept and I'm alive.
I just feel good today, I guess.
Today's the day. Now that's what I did yesterday, and I got to do exactly the same thing, right? And so then they're trying to, you know, memorize every action they took to try to recreate that.
That was so real.
100%. So, yeah, so I help people not only identify their Wheel of Fear, because once you do, your life flashes before you and you get why you did everything. It's like it's this healing balm, right? It's just this soothing, like, oh, you mean I wasn't a horrible person, or I wasn't stupid or bitter or, you know, resentful, or, you know, it was fear. Yeah, it was just fear. It had the better of you because you didn't know. And then you see the Wheel of Freedom and you're like, oh yeah, I've experienced that too. Yeah, you've experienced that already. You've experienced both. So let's, you know, kind of refine them, define them, so you have a better handle on them, so you can grab them faster. And then let me show you how to move in between the two.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have framed it like this too, because I definitely do feel like where I'm at in career is different than where I'm at in relationships. Yeah, I feel like I'm doing so well at not taking shit personally, at not, you know, like I'm overcoming that stuff, which if you knew me even a year and a half ago, you'd be so proud of me.
I'm proud of you. I'm
crazy. Thank you. It's just crazy because I'm not anywhere near the person I was. I was a very reactive person, but I feel really good. I mean, yes, there's things to improve on, whatever, but like for who I am, like I think I'm really happy with that. Yeah, but I feel all of the stuff in relation to each step I take in the entrepreneurial world. You know, I can feel the fear sometimes. I'm like just asking myself, like, what is this that's coming up right now? Because I don't necessarily understand it. And other times I'm like, I'm afraid, but of what? You know?
Yes. And so what I do with the Wheel of Fear is based on the 30 years of work, I've been doing this for 30 years. Yes. Can you believe it? I can't believe it either. And I still look so cute, right? So
I can't believe it because you started when you were freaking in the womb.
So when I figured this fear thing out by the grace of God, by God's download and input, because he gave it to me, I didn't come up with this. And when I started to see it clearly, what I recognized is we think that we have a lot of problems. So for instance, you mind if I give a little quiz out to everybody listening to us?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay, so if you're in a safe place to shut your eyes, please do. And if you're not, please don't. And I'm going to read a list of words. And if you do any of these things or feel any of these things, nod your head. Okay, so just nod your head. And the reason you're shutting your eyes is that you don't see anybody, you know, in case somebody's in your periphery, you don't see them and get all self-conscious. Okay, so, all right. Do you ever isolate? Do you ever pretend everything's okay when it's not? Do you ever hide? Do you ever whine? What about settle? Do you compare yourself? Do you ever secretly manipulate? Do you get defensive? What about judging? Do you complain? What about procrastinate? Wait and call it patience. Do you ever blame, struggle, worry? Do you ever deflect? Do you ever control? Do you ever feel bitter, powerless, entitled? Do you ever feel resentful? Do you ever get in perfectionism or people pleasing? Do you get disappointed? What about guilty? Do you ever feel indifferent, irresponsible, overwhelmed, ignored? Do you ever get caught in self-pity? What about irritated, like right now at me with reading of these words? What about being a victim? What about annoyed? Okay, sister. What percentage of those words you got, girl? Or which one stands out?
Really probably the patient or waiting and calling it patience.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like I'm pretty good at catching myself with most of those. I do them all the time, but I don't feel like I stay in them, but all of them all the time. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So these are what I call your fear responses. Okay. So people, and me too, I, for most of my life, thought these were my problems. If I could just quit people pleasing, if I could just quit procrastinating, if I could just quit judging, if I could just quit comparing. And I spent all my time trying to figure out how to stop myself from doing that, how to transcend that, how do I get over that? And when I discovered the Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom, what I learned is that these are literally just fear responses. So when you find yourself judging, comparing, you don't self-deprecate, you don't beat yourself up, you go, oh, this is a fear response, which means that my core fear is triggered. So I believe in the work that I've done that everybody has, at the end of the day, one core trigger that really ignites them all, right? It's one thing that's your core thing that if it even gets looked at, funny, right? Like a little even glance, your core trigger is so fast, it starts these fear responses.
Yeah.
And so the fear responses, most people, everybody that I've ever met, thinks those are their problems. But when you can really recategorize them and start calling them fear responses instead of character flaws or, these are the things wrong with me, or these are my problems. If you can just start categorizing them at fear responses, you're already putting them in the proper place. And then when you can see that, then you can start working on and uncovering, and it's easier than you think, your core fear. And so instead of, like you said, what am I afraid of? Why am I afraid? Well, now you'll know, because it's only one core fear. There's only one core fear that's driving all your behaviors and all your thoughts. And once you recognize that, everything gets so easy, right? Because fear has us distracted by all these problems, all these fear responses. It's just keeping us distracted. So we don't see our core fear, because fear doesn't want you to see its core fear, because fear is as smart as you are, as educated as you are, as knowledgeable as you are, and as spiritual as you are. It knows everything you know. So it knows everything you know. So it just gets smarter and smarter, and it does not want to be found at all costs. So people will say to me, oh, I know what my core fear is. And I'm like, really? What is it? They go, oh, lazy. My mother called me lazy all the time. I go, trust me, that is not your core fear.
Your core fear. Oh my God.
That is not it.
Honey,
right?
And this is one of them things you're wrong about. Okay, baby.
Yeah, really. Because, well, what you're comfortable with, trust me, is not your core fear.
Right.
So if you can be like, oh yeah, my mother called me stupid all the time, or I've always been told I'm blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's not it. That's not it. That's what fear will let you believe.
Mhm.
because it still can control you if you think that's
Well,
the core fear.
yeah. You're still not the one in charge if you're
That's
going to
right.
lean into a narrative like that. I mean, you're believing you're lazy because your mom said that. I don't
Well,
know.
you're afraid you're lazy.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't believe you're lazy. You're afraid you're lazy, and you don't want anyone to think that or see that about you. So the core fear is the thing that's driving the boat when we go unconscious and act from our fear responses. So then what I do is I help people get on their wheel of freedom, which
Yeah.
is accessing their essential nature, which, by the way, I'll say this to you because I know you'll start thinking about this. Your
Yeah.
essential nature is that part of you that goes into hiding when fear pops up. So you have access to this quality of your essential nature with everyone else. You can do it with everybody else, right?
Yeah.
You can be compassionate to everybody else, but you can't be
Mhm.
compassionate with yourself, right? You can admire authenticity in everybody else, but you can't be authentic because that's too dangerous, right? So there's a part of you that goes into hiding the minute that wheel of fear gets ignited, because
Yeah.
that part of you is so delicate, fragile, just so sweet that it
Yeah.
can't, right? Just so
Yeah.
so
Innocent
vulnerable.
almost. Yeah. Do you think it's possible that my core fear is of being seen?
Well, there is a core fear called invisible.
Okay, because that was my big one. I mean, that's the pain I've carried for sure, is that I felt invisible. I
Mhm.
don't feel invisible anymore, but I'm also, as much as I want to be seen, I'm really scared of it. Like there's
Yeah.
still slowly but surely I kind of like put more of my ideals out into the universe, you know, the
Sure.
ether. But it's taken a while to really like release little bits of that. Like, well, first of all, I live in Oklahoma, and so a lot of like my spiritual
No more
beliefs
needs to
are
be said.
rejected.
No more
Thank
needs
you,
to be
baby.
said.
Thank you. You get it. So, like, I'm terrified to say some things because
Sure.
you know cancel culture is real here. But I that's fake. What I like that's I don't have a real fear of being canceled because I
Sure.
believe wholeheartedly that the people I'm meant for and that are meant for me would
That's right.
never. So I
That's
don't really have that fear, but I do, but I don't. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
it's just hanging on your shoulder here. It's just hanging on your shoulder.
It's all the time. All
Yes.
the time.
Yes. Well, but that's the wheel of fear. The wheel of fear is you, right? It's part and parcel of how you operate.
Yeah.
It is literally part and parcel of you. So I'll give you mine so you can see how it works. Okay.
Okay.
So the wheel of fear has 4 components and the wheel of freedom has 4 components. And we're just going to deal right now with the trigger and the essential nature to make it easy. Okay.
Okay.
So my trigger is loser. Okay. Now, I've never been called a loser in my entire life.
Really?
Never.
But
Nope.
it's that big of a trigger for you.
When God downloaded this work to me and I started working it and started doing it with clients and then started obviously doing it with myself as well. And my best friend and I did the work to find my wheel because the wheel doesn't want to be found, remember?
Yeah.
So I probably picked something else, like, because it's like, oh yeah, I've been working on that. Rejected. Yeah, that must be it. No, it's not rejected. And a lot of people go to rejected right away because it's what we all don't want to be
kind of
rejected.
low-hanging fruit.
It's
Yeah,
totally
we all
low-hanging.
know we experience that. Yeah.
Right. And some people's core trigger is rejected, but
Sure.
this many people's, like,
But
10% of
yeah.
the population, right?
Right.
And so when my best friend and I did the work and uncovered my loser trigger, it was like a punch gut, slap in the face, dragging through glass. No way. That's not true. No, I will give you plenty of proof, right? Like, and then what else happens is your life flashes before your eyes, right? And I've heard this for the last 30 years. People tell me this all the time. Oh my God, now I know why I got married, got divorced, went to college, didn't go to college, why I moved there, why I didn't move. Like when you have a filter of a trigger, and mine again is loser, you can see. And also, like, let's say you're going someplace, let's say you're going to a networking event and you walk in, somebody gives you a dirty look. Yours might be invisible, mine is loser. We might have different things that ignite us. We might have some of the same fear responses. And instead of giving the power to that, dirty look, we go, oh yeah, I'm afraid to be a loser right now, right? Because he gave me a dirty look. So I'm afraid to walk in here because I'm afraid to be a loser, right?
Mhm.
So to be seen as a loser, to be thought of as a loser.
Yes.
So, and you are not you are not, I have to tell this to my clients all the time, you are not your wheel of fear. You are not your wheel of fear. You are not your wheel of fear. You are not a loser. You are not invisible, no matter what you think and say. right? But this is what the Wheel of Fear does. So then I, Rhonda Britton, and again, there's three other points on the Wheel of Fear, but we're just going to quickly go over the essential nature. My essential nature is authentic. Okay. Now, when I was 12 years old, 13 years old, I was already, writing in my journals, right? And I loved E.E. Cummings. And I'm going to butcher his quote, but it's like his quote is, to be yourself in this world is the hardest thing you'll ever do. And I would
like, isn't that the truth?
Yes. And I would cry and I would write it down. I'd be like, yes, yes. And so I wanted to be authentic more than anything else, but I have no access to it.
Yeah.
Because I want you to think about this. If I'm afraid to be seen as a loser, and if my Wheel of Fear wants to convince me that I am, to be authentic means that everybody will think I'm a loser. Right? So those things are not opposites.
Yeah.
That's the thing about self-help. They try to make it too easy. Oh, just do the opposite. You're afraid to be a loser, be a winner. No, you're still operating from the same fear. You're still running from the same fear. It is not opposite. So my job, whenever the guy gives me the dirty look at the networking event, or when whatever's going on for me, and I can feel, like you're saying, I can feel some of that stuff coming up. I feel procrastination or overwhelm or judging or comparing, any of that stuff. I got to stop right away. The minute I feel it, when I see it, and go, okay, Rhonda, what would you, if you were authentic right now, what would you do?
Yes.
What? The authentic?
I didn't have to ask myself that because I just would rather hide.
Well, yeah, because authentic is dangerous.
It is dangerous.
Completely.
Yeah.
So when I am on my Wheel of Fear and I ask myself to get on my Wheel of Freedom, intellectually, of course, I know that it's good. And intellectually, I know that it's going to be awesome in 5 minutes. But that bridge to get over, it feels like in my big moments of my life, even in small moments, it feels like I'm going to die, like death.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why, to understand your Wheel of Fear, to understand your Wheel of Freedom, like, where are you going? Because again, that's the other thing that I did. I would just try different things. I would do all these different things, right? Like, oh, this is going to help me. This is going to help me. This is going to help me. And all of it was helpful, right? All the work we've done is helpful. It's great. And those are what I call proactive behaviors. But unless we actually access our essential nature, we're going to do what you're talking about, which is be confused on what's happening. What's happening? Mm-hmm. Well, once you're not confused, life gets a lot easier. I mean, it becomes very simple. It's, am I being triggered by, i.e., is there something, am I loser coming up? Mm-hmm. And where am I denying myself my authenticity? Where am I hiding it? Where am I refusing to be authentic?
Yeah.
And being authentic, just like you said earlier, you talked about a spiritual journey as an entrepreneur. Being authentic feels like just be authentic, like a flippant, like be authentic. Okay.
Yeah.
Authentic is not flippant, not for me.
No. And there are so many layers I've uncovered, and I know there's so many more because apparently I was so afraid to show the real me for so long, and thought at other points in my life that I was being authentic, which I guess if I were to look at it in hindsight, I was, because it's who I thought I was at the time. But
I was being authentic on my Wheel of Fear.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like, I was like, yeah, so what? I'm just, hey, I was authentically on my Wheel of Fear.
I owned it. Yeah. I was like, oh, well, I mean, yeah.
This is who I am. Just who I am. It's who I am. Right. And you actually feel like you're being authentic. I know, just like you, I did too.
Yeah. Right? It's crazy.
And then when I, got downloaded the Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom, it was like,
authentically in my fear. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is lovely and wonderful, to see that. But then you doing an authentic step, if you were being true to yourself, if you were living your values, if you were doing the truth, if you were, if you were aligned with your deeper self, what would you say or do right now? And sometimes, still to this day, I hesitate, right? Because it's like, You guys,
But I don't want to do that. That's why I'm afraid.
well, but you do want to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Your fear tells you don't want to do it, but you actually are dying to do it.
Yes, you're
Because
so right about that.
Right? Because every time you're on your wheel of freedom, you feel free.
Yes.
So you know you want to do it. You've done it. I've done it enough, right? I've done my free authentic. I've done it enough. And that's the thing. Once you get a taste of your wheel of freedom, you're like, oh, honey, this is the real stuff. I want more of this.
I
right?
want to go back. Yeah.
Which gives you more courage to keep using your wheels and working them.
Yeah. Maybe I just haven't stepped outside of it enough times to like prove to myself that I'm not going to die.
well, and also, just again, one of the things that psychology tells us is that having one focus, one mental model, one mental focus makes everything, all the side things fall away.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have one kind of defining principle, one organizing principle, then life gets easier. So right now, you're probably like me, which is we know so damn much that one day I'm thinking, well, I just need to meditate more. And another day I'm just like, well, I just need to get to sleep. And then the other day I'm like, well, I just really need to, right? Like I'm always changing the solution.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what the Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom give you as an organizing principle around your behaviors, your thoughts, your feelings. So everything is very crystal clear on what's happening when.
Yeah. That makes so much sense because yeah, you're right. It's kind of like when you go to the gym. I saw this TikTok video the other day talking about this, and it's just resonated with me so much. I don't know why I watched it, but maybe I needed this lesson that day. But this girl was talking about how she's tired of fitness influencers throwing up a workout of the week. She's like, because to get the results that you want, you have to do the same workout over and over and over and over again to get the bigger muscles. And I just loved it because I was like, I don't really care about that, but I do care about the principle of it. And I was like, man, you can't be cherry picking in every way to get a direction.
And we use our energy to cherry pick.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have limited energy every day. We only have a certain amount of energy every day. And every day we're redeciding what the solution should be.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're redeciding, right? You're rethinking it again. And all of a sudden you're exhausted, right? Because you're using your energy to redecide something that is already decided.
Right.
Right. And it's like, it's every breakup I ever had, right? It's like, should I break up? Should I stay together? Do they love me? Do they not? Oh, right. And the reason, how when we break up and then, 3 months later, we're back together. It's like, right. That's all because we don't have a clear filter. We don't have a clear filter. We just keep changing the goalpost, so to speak, because we don't like how we're feeling and we don't want to be in this situation. So then we have to change the goalpost so that we can do what we want to do. But what you're saying about repetition and doing the same workout, it's the only way you get new neural pathways.
Yes.
So,
which I know. I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing.
But we all do. All do. And again, the simple solution is the Wheel of Fear has convinced you and me that having the more tools in our toolbox, like having all these different things, again, which is, again, lovely. I've done everything. I've done, you name it, I've done it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I follow my authentic Wheel of Freedom and my intuition. And when I'm, I might go and get a massage as a proactive behavior, or I might go and see an energy worker as a proactive behavior, right?
Sure.
Or I might go, right? Like I'm going to be able to use all of your assets and all of your tools and all of your knowledge as a proactive behavior. But you're filtering it through what is going to support me right here and right now to live on my Wheel of Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for me to be authentic, I just need to do some body work. Okay, great. Let me, so you can, it's not about getting rid of everything you've ever done. It's about putting it in the proper context and the proper filter so that you can use it in the best, most fruitful way possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And this, I like the way you've made it simple. I mean, I know that that's not like the best word to use in something where we're talking about very complex emotions, but like a process needs to be simple sometimes
for us to use it.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. That's great. Can I ask you a question really quick, just about your family?
Sure.
Just because I've always been very can't look away from these types of tragedies. I don't know what my deal is.
Most of us can't. Yeah.
Well, I'm really curious about how it shaped your relationship with your sisters after that.
Well, I was 14. My older sister had just turned 18, which was lucky for us.
Yeah.
Because then we were able to live together. My younger sister was 13.
Oh.
So my older sister, my younger sister and me, we actually lived together for the next 2 years. We lived in that same house.
Oh my
parents
goodness.
died in the driveway. Right. I know. And nobody came to help us. Literally
Because
nobody.
you were fine. I mean, yeah.
We grew up in Upper Michigan. What's the problem? I mean, this is the perfect example. I always say, my uncle, one of my uncles, just a few years ago, like 5 years ago, I'm visiting him in Upper Michigan. And he goes, hey, I'm like, yeah. He goes, where did you girls go after that? And I go, Uncle, we lived in the house. Oh, I called once.
Oh my God,
funny.
you're kidding.
No, but this is my family. Right. And this
it was
is the
most
culture.
families at that time.
Yeah.
Especially in that area,
So
for sure.
right. So it's like so they everybody pretty much pretended it didn't happen, treated it as if it didn't happen, and didn't bring over, everyone's like, oh, bring over casseroles. We didn't get any casseroles. No,
Nobody took care of you guys.
Nothing. No.
Crazy.
No, because I think they just didn't know how to deal with it. It was just too big, right? Too much shame, too much embarrassment, too much humiliation. I don't want to be near that. And people, I could feel that people, like didn't want to hang, like kids were like, oh, I can't hang out with her.
Yeah.
She's from one of those families, right?
Yeah.
So I became like right. So my sisters and I lived together for 2 years. And then in my senior year, we moved away to Duluth, where we lived before, Duluth, Minnesota. And there we had a family friend who helped my sister get a job. And we realized very quickly that we needed to leave where we were. Like, we needed to leave. So we actually separated in my senior year. I went and lived, we lived in Duluth for just a few months. Then we moved to Minneapolis thinking we'd get away from everything, because nobody knows us in Minneapolis, right? People know us in Duluth. So nobody knows us in Minneapolis. So then I went and I got my own apartment when I was a senior in high school. My younger sister actually went back to Michigan and lived with a family for a year. And then when she was a senior in high school, lived by herself. I mean, it's like, I think about this now. I look at my nieces and nephews when they're 14. I thought I was like an adult, right? And
yeah.
Right. When my nieces and nephews turned 14, I'm always like, and then when they turn 16, and I think we're living on our own in an apartment.
Yes.
And who rented to us? Who rented to us, right? Like, people rented to us.
Different times, man. Different times.
But yeah, so me and my sisters are close. We've been in and out of each other's lives, so to speak, based on the circumstance of our lives. But we have, on one level, stayed together because it's all we have. Now, both my sisters are married with children, so they have their own families.
Yeah.
Right. So once in a while that'll come up. I'm like, yeah, but you're my sister, so you're actually my family. Okay.
Right. Right. All of you.
Just pointing that out again, if you forgot, right?
Yeah.
If you forgot, right? But so shockingly, I think moving away was actually one of the best things we did, because we were able to change the energetic field around us and actually put that thing aside for a while.
Yeah.
And be seen as different, even though, because people didn't know what happened. And I think that helped us kind of be normal again.
Yeah.
Right. So both my sisters are doing great.
Well, good. Okay. That offers me a little solace. I don't know why I needed that.
It does. Yeah. That's very normal. People want to know, and they want to know, like, did we stay connected? And so my older sister was just here. I just talked to my younger sister. I'm going to a wedding with her. So I'm doing her makeup because
look at you.
She's like, Rhonda, because I was on TV for, millions of years. So she's like, can you do my makeup? I'm like, yes, I'll do your makeup. Right. So
I love it. Also, your pictures that are on your profile for Podmatch here, you have like the warmest energy. I was just loving clicking through. I just wanted you to know that.
thank you. That is very
Yeah.
kind because I don't know that. So thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah. Whenever I was just reading stuff, but to figure out what I was doing today, I was like, man, I gotta let her know. Like these are great pictures. Just because, like, really, like it's like your heart is so warm and it's just on display.
Well, that is what I hope people feel. That is exactly what I hope people feel. So thank you.
Yes. Well, I've loved this conversation. I will make sure to include all of your links in my show notes. I did see.
Oh, I have a gift. I have a gift.
What is
I have a
that?
gift. One of my very favorite students, one of their favorite tools, it's called Stretch, Risk, or Die. It cures procrastination, and it's going to help anybody anybody who's stuck or feels like they can't reach a dream. This is the tool to use. And so go to fearlessliving.org/risk, fearlessliving.org/risk, put your name and email in, and you'll get access to my platform. You'll get access to the course. It's 3 15-minute videos, people, 3 15-minute videos. Go and watch it today. And the third video, I actually explain the Wheel of Fear. You actually watch me go through my wheel. So you're going to see it in action. And there's worksheets and, all the things you need in order to start using the tool I call Stretch, Risk, or Die. Because once you start using the tool Stretch, Risk, or Die, wherever you're stuck in your life, you're going to start going, oh, okay, got this now too. All righty. So it's my clients, like one of their favorite tools. So fearlessliving.org/risk.
Okay. And I think I saw the link for that in your CTA. So I will make sure that I include that in the actual show notes as well. Thank you so much for such an awesome conversation. I just appreciate you so much.
Thank you. And be fearless.
I'm doing my best, damn it. Have a wonderful Wednesday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram at melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops.
Emotionally unavailable.
All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming.
Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.